Study shows effects of queer book bans as 1,650 titles pulled in more than 5,000 schools. Efforts to ban books have gathered enough backing this past year, where hundreds of titles cut across thousands of schools. These schools include those who often tackle culture wars issues like gender, sexuality, and race. A study shows, and as per the report published by the anti-censorship group PEN America, in the school year 2021-2022, there were 2,532 instances of individual book bans that affected 1,648 titles at around 5,000 schools with 4 million students. Significant bans were seen in Texas, Florida, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, South Carolina, Wisconsin, and Georgia. Frequently banned titles include Genderqueer, a memoir by Maia, Kobabe, and The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas, which was inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and was turned into a 2018 movie. As per the report, author Jonathan Friedman, quote, "This rapidly accelerating movement has resulted in more and more students losing access to literature that equips them to meet the challenges and complexities of democratic citizenship," unquote. The banned books were often young adult fiction texts with dealing with subject matter like lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer themes with queer protagonists, as well as those that tackle race and identity. Popular novels by Toni Morrison and Khaled Hosseini were also pulled.
It's an intensification, far more book bans sprouting up all over the country than we ever saw before, more formalized efforts. They are not just a challenge in an individual school system or library, but legislation being introduced in state houses that would affect the availability of books, all over the state and every school and library. The ferocity of the debates and the link to larger political tensions and polarization, it's inflaming communities, and that's something we haven't seen before.
What books do you see most affected? Where's the impact?
It's overwhelmingly books by and about people of color and LGBTQ individuals. So it can be stories about a transgender kind of coming of age story, stories about slavery, about Black Americans and the Black experience and racial injustice in this country. So those kinds of narratives that are something other than kind of a pure, very traditional, what some people might think of as a standard old school American story.
Yeah, so at Safe Schools yesterday, great coincidence, yesterday began Banned Books Week. And Safe Schools South Florida made a donation to the Stonewall Archives Library. We donated several different queer titles with youth-appropriate themes, and we made a donation to Stonewall so that they could have a one-year subscription to an e-books service that's very common with the National Library System. So what that will do is allow kids across the area to check out those gay-themed youth books that we donated, and adults, kids of all ages, to be able to access books through the internet. People try to block books in a physical location. They can't block them and censor them on the internet.
Right.
Scott, I want to ask you specifically, as the executive director of Safe Schools South Florida and the advocacy that you do in schools and for young people. At Core News Tonight, we've reported more stories in the last 5 months on issues related to books and bans and what's going on in schools than in the entire history since we started in January of 2020. What's going on here, and what's going on?
People don't have much imagination, clearly, because their hatred spills forward in a lot of the same ways they have for decades. We've seen book burnings, we've seen book bannings, and they're just falling back on the same tripe that they've tried to put forward for a long time. And the kids are where they're first directing their anger on all sorts of levels, because the kids are one of the groups that's least able to fight
the least voice.
back.
So
Exactly.
are you suggesting that this will expand and it will spill over into other people of color communities beyond schools and LGBT beyond schools?
I've said on this show, and you could find the tape somewhere and play it back, this is only just beginning. This is not something that's about to go away. The wolf is at the door. Anything you can imagine bad happening to the LGBT community is about to happen if it's not already. So this is, this is not something that's just going to go away because some judge issues an injunction. Get ready, buckle up. The fight is going to spread across all of our
incredibly
platforms.
ominous. You're the top voice in South Florida for the safety of our students and schools, and you are giving us an ominous warning.
Yeah, and I say that same thing to the kids and to the teachers because they need to all buckle down. Like I say, you can't just think, oh, this is going away. The kids are having a hard time wrapping their head around what's happening because if you're a teenager in high school, you've always known a world where gay marriage was legal.
Right.
So this concept that people could be coming out against you and banning you and censoring you, they're really like, wait, what is going on? And then the people my age think, well, we fought those battles 50 years ago. We don't have to worry about them anymore. We are exactly back to Anita Bryant right now.
And one of the sad things about this, especially in the state of Florida, is students had teachers and counselors that they could go talk to in the past. Their classrooms had safe space stickers on them. In the schools now, all of those safe space stickers have been removed from classrooms. And teachers and counselors are afraid that they're going to be fired and sued if they try and help these young people.
And to Cindy's specific point, this is the first opportunity I've had seeing you since the news. Miami-Dade County is the second bluest county in the state. The only bluer county is where we're sitting right now in Broward County. Miami-Dade County last year had LGBT History Month in October and voted 7-1 in favor of it. They have just voted 7-1 against doing an LGBT history. It seems to me that's exactly the point that you've just made
They're
in
afraid.
safe spaces, and exactly the point that you have said that this is going to escalate worse and worse. What went on very specifically in Miami-Dade County? How is that possible in the second bluest county in Florida?
When Governor DeSantis removed half of the Broward County School Board, it sent a chilling, huge message to other elected officials and other school boards that if they cross this very vague line of don't say gay and what does that mean, if they cross a line, he'll take them out of office. And, it's sad to say I'm an elected official myself, but often you look at what the impact to you will be as much as what the impact on the public might be. So nobody wants to get arrested as an elected official. Nobody wants to be removed from office. And I think that's why they went the direction that they did. It's not that they probably believe in their heart there shouldn't be an LGBT History Month, but they're afraid.
Well, let me call. I heard you loud and clear, but let me call it out more specifically. Does that mean in the choice of taking on the governor and standing up to the governor versus holding on to their elected position as a school board, that they're just cowards?
Cowards.
I would also say, though, let me play devil's advocate here. While remaining on the school board, they can still have maybe somewhat of an influence. But if they get plucked by the governor, he's going to replace them with ultra conservative. So, playing devil's advocate, I think there's
the Trump model.
I want you're an excellent opportunity for us on this story. Let's say that that's true. Is Miami-Dade County going to accept any governor, but this specific governor, DeSantis, are they going to accept him managing the decision-making on the school board level by this pluck that she just said? Will the voters and the residents of Miami-Dade County accept that?
I don't think they have a choice.
Ironically, Thursday afternoon, Lucia Baez-Geller, who's on the Dade County Public School Board, and I are hosting a community meeting amongst some of the power brokers of the LGBT community in both Dade and Broward, because as we talked about a little bit earlier, there's a whole lot of cross-pollination. We have to get not just educational organizations involved in these fights, but we've got to get business leaders, political leaders. We've got to get, those groups that are normally involved in the social fun events, we've got to get them to get serious and buckle down, because they're not going to stop at schools. Christian Coalition will be coming for county commissions and rules that govern housing and employment. Get ready. This is going to
Scott, one last question, and Cindy's going to take us to an international story with the Secretary of State. My last question is, you sit in an interesting role in this conversation. You're an elected city commissioner, North Miami, longest LGBT elected official in the state of Florida in history. So you sit in that position and executive director of Safe Schools. What's it going to take to get specifically Miami-Dade County? We have less concern in Broward, but maybe concern in Broward. But in Miami-Dade County, I think that this vote of the school board shocked all of us that Miami-Dade County could make a decision like this. We're not Leon County. We're not Pensacola. We're not, we're not Sarasota. What's it going to take to bring this to a stop, or at least bring the brakes of what we're watching, almost in terms of a fascist mentality?
Well,
what's it going to take?
And obviously there's an election in November, but let's say that election goes the way of DeSantis. It's going to take repeated draconian instances for maybe Dade Countyans to sort of wake up. I honestly think that we are an election cycle away from gay bars and clubs being raided and customers being arrested and let off. And maybe when it hits that point, people will start to go, oh my God, this is too much. Because we're in a society where people love to watch Law and Order, and 60 Minutes, a story is wrapped up from start to finish in a neat little package. So everybody's just sort of hanging out. I mean, at that school board meeting where Lucia's History Month thing was voted down, there was nobody there from the LGBT business community. There were very few elected officials there. It was all basically a bunch of teenagers and a couple of hippies. And if that's the only troops we're going to send into the battle, we will get our head handed to us every time.
Right. Yeah.
You must cringe at an observation like that.
It's frightening. I know at that school board meeting that it was also attended by the Proud Boys, and the intimidation factor of what these. You have to also feel, I think, in some ways for the school board members who in other places across. Again, I'm not giving an excuse. I'm saying the intimidation that's happening for elected officials, whether you're on an election board, whether you're in these roles, and the intimidation that they're doing to people, I think is again, it's over the top, and it's only going to get worse. So yes, we need to have people that have backbones that will stand up and do the job that they were elected to do, and it's to represent all of the people of Miami-Dade County.
Sometimes doing your job means risking your job.
It does.
Risking everything. Actually, and I do want to move on to Cindy, but I was thinking as you said that, it seems like we're either there or virtually there, that we've got to implement the old drag queen mentality of hold my hair. Because we're going to war now. That's what we're getting ready to do. LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ plus community.